Hi everybody, Joey here again and welcome back. So today, I'm going to show you how to take this and turn it into this. Now quite obviously, it's the television aquarium. Simply put, it's a floor model television turned into a home aquarium. Pretty neat, right? Well, it's been done before. I've seen it several times, but the way they do it is unlike anything that I'm about to show you today. What I'm going to show you is going to be pretty unique. Now let's first discuss quickly what I've seen in the past. What I've seen previously is people getting floor model televisions, taking out the insides of them, and simply stuffing in a regular aquarium. A flat aquarium, so you lose the bow front. It doesn't even look like a TV anymore. To me, I can spot them a mile away. It looks like a fish tank stuffed inside of an old TV stand. Nothing more, nothing less. There's been a couple of cases where people have custom built or had custom built aquariums built specifically for the actual floor model TV, so it ends up looking like the original. Now what my intentions today is to surpass all of that. I want to use the front glass of the original tube of that television, and that's exactly what I did. We'll get to seeing how I did that later on in the video. Now with all of this said, this was more of a test on my part. This is a video that might not have ended up coming to be. Reason being is because the risks involved with trying to get the glass from the front of the TV to cut in half. If you guys have ever tried to cut glass or have ever seen a television tube, it's impossible to do, or near impossible. But I'll show you exactly what I did, and it allowed for this video to actually happen. So let's get started with what you're going to need. Obviously you're going to need a floor model TV. Where do you get them? Personally for me, I looked on my local classifieds ads online. You might use Craigslist or Kijiji. I found one for free. I decided, you know what, I always wanted to try that. I'm going to go pick it up. It's free. I've got nothing to lose. And I've seen a ton of them on there for free. Some of them were $20, $30. You know, either way, that's still a bargain. Mine was in complete working condition, so it was kind of sad to tear it apart and smash it knowing that this might not turn out at all, and I've just ruined a nice piece of furniture. Nonetheless, my do-it-yourself side of me took over there, and I went ahead and did it. So I got the actual TV for free. Now, what about glass to build the rest of the aquarium? You guys are going to need more glass. Well, for me, and for you guys, if you're ever shopping around online, again on these local classified sites, you'll notice that sometimes people will put on an old aquarium. You know, it's cracked, doesn't hold water, might be good for reptiles, etc. That's music to my ears. In my opinion, that's free glass. Go and get it. That's what I did. I seen a cracked tank. I said, you know, what do you want for it? They said, come and get it. Perfect. So far my build is free. All I have to pay for is silicone, which is $5. So this build is going to cost me $5. You might experience other costs, like you might have to pay for your TV, you know, $50 maybe, or you might have to buy your glass, another $50. Either way, $100 for something this unique and a conversation piece is something that's going to be add beauty to your home decor. It's kind of worth it in my opinion. So, now that I have my actual television, I have my glass, I have my silicone, now let's rip this thing apart. All TVs are not the same. They're all going to be, you know, different in one way or the other, and I'm no electrician. All I know is that make sure there's no power and start cutting. Wear protective gloves and make sure that you're using a tool that has a rubber grip. Maybe I'm wrong completely there, but that's what I did. Anyways, again, no TVs are the same unless you bought the exact same TV I have, but chances are you didn't. Anyways, let's get started on taking the TV apart. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the back off of the actual television. Most of these older style TVs are having press board backs, and they're held in with screws all around the perimeter. I've already gone ahead and removed most of the screws except for the last one. When they come off pretty simply. And now you're exposed with the circuit board and the actual tube to the television. From there, what you're going to want to do is make sure you put on some gloves, because it's actually quite dirty back here. After several years, 20 years of not being cleaned, it's going to collect a lot of black dust in there. First and foremost, you're going to want to cut some wires. Make sure the television has been unplugged for quite a while, and cut the power cord off first. Mine was located here. I've already done it with some wire cutters. From there, you want to make sure that everything is disconnected from the actual circuit board, including the television, the actual tube, which everything is tied into it. So I've gone ahead and cut everything that is connected to the tube. Now, I can't actually remove the circuit board until I remove the TV. It might not be the same for every TV. You might be able to get in there and get all the screws to take it out, but I can't with this style. So my next step is to actually remove the tube. Removing the tube is going to be as simple as unscrewing 4 screws. They're located in each corner, and they're just holding the actual tube in place. As long as I have all the wires cut and I remove those 4 screws, the tube will pop right in. With the tube out now, we can at least go ahead and remove the remaining screws that were holding the circuit board in, or the power board, whatever you're going to call it. Once you do that, like I already have, it comes right out. There's nothing else holding it in. From there, obviously, there's some obstructions here that we'll have to remove, but they're just tiny screws in here that I remove. Each one of them will pop right off. Once we get that done, we can move on to the next step. With the actual TV tube now out of the TV stand, we can go ahead and make the TV tube a lot more safer to work on. Now these tubes have a lot of compressed gas in them. We need to release that gas in order to move any further with this tank. In order to do so, what I suggest doing is getting some duct tape, and there's a glass tube that's right at the top here. It's a little glass cylinder. Wrap some duct tape around it, take your tube outside, and smack it with a hammer. You're going to make sure you're wearing safety goggles for sure, just in case. When you hit it, you're going to hear some gas being released, and it releases quite quickly. Once you do that, you're able to take this right off, and you can now start working on the actual tank, or on the actual tube. So with the television now taken apart, I have the back off, which was easy, a few screws. Took out the circuit board and all the electrical pieces, pretty simple as well, a few screws, and even took the television tube out. All of that was really easy, didn't take very long at all. Pretty heavy though. My next step was to release the gases from the actual television tube. It's under compression, so it could be potentially dangerous. I had to do that outside. Now this is the part of the video where I thought, I'm just going to try doing this first, and if it works, great. If not, so be it. So I had to do this all outside. In order to, once the actual tube, that glass cylinder I said was off, I'm left with just a full thing of glass. The entire tube is made of glass. But the thing is that the front half is a clearer glass, and the back was not clear at all. I couldn't see through it. I wondered why. I did some research and found out that glass in the back half, has a heavy concentration of lead. Now the first thing I thought of is when you're trying to combine two completely different things, they don't typically bond that well. So they should be able to come apart pretty easily as well. So I took my glass cutters, and I showed you guys how to cut glass before, and I simply traced around exactly where I needed it to break apart. That was having my fingers crossed. I left the metals or aluminum trim all around the actual tube. I left it there as a brace. From there, took it outside, and took a hammer and quite simply smashed out the back. I didn't smash it as hard as you would think, but I smashed it hard enough so that it started cracking and breaking apart. Luckily for me, it broke exactly where I needed it to, or at least very closely. It was pretty jagged, but I didn't worry about that because that's going to be on the inside. You're not going to see it. A little bit of sandpaper makes it quite safe. I didn't realize all the innards of a television tube until I actually broke into one. Lots of, I think it was aluminum, some tin, lots of wires. I had no idea what any of it did, but I ripped it all out, threw it out. So now I'm left with just the front half of what I needed in the first place, which is great. I left the aluminum brace along the sides, or whatever that's made out of, steel, because what that's going to allow me to do is put it right back in place where I got it. Once it's in place, I'm able to actually build the aquarium around it. Obviously, I needed to sand it off first and go from there. So I sanded it off, put it right back in place, and started building the aquarium around it. Now, the bottom of the television tube was too tall to just sit flat. So I had to brace it up with some 2x4s to lift up the bottom pane, so it actually ended up being exactly level with the bottom of the television tube. The bottom of the television tube had a lip in which the actual aquarium sat inside. Now, before I did any of this, I had to make sure that I waterproofed the inside of the actual TV stand, or the inside of the actual television, I guess you could say. To do that, I simply sprayed some urethane inside of it. What that was going to do is seal the wood. I'm not looking to really waterproof it. I just want to protect it from condensation, because that's going to happen. I didn't get a video of that either. I did it outside. Didn't want my camera around when I was spraying that, and I didn't want it around while I was smashing glass. Didn't know what could happen. So nonetheless, that's done. So up until that point, I was home free. I had the tank, the front glass ready to go. It was sanded down and I broke off right where I needed it to. I also had everything prepared on the inside. Now, I also had to brace the actual stand of the TV. Since they're all different, you'll have to brace it however you see fit. Although I use 2x4s and just put them in the corners where underneath the television. This is going to add a lot of bracing to it and stop it from bending. Now, the tank glass that I was using was from an old 20-gallon tank, I thought it was. I did have to cut that glass exactly how I showed you guys how to cut glass in the past in order to make it fit into the actual tube. I just had to cut 2 pieces. That was pretty straightforward and simple. I showed you guys how to do that before. It's not difficult at all. Now, the downside to this build was the tank that I actually used to build it was only 12 inches high. Not very high considering the actual television tube sits at about, I think it was 16, 17 inches high. So the water level is dropped in it, which is fine. This is more of a tutorial video and not to show you what it will look like as an end product, based on the fact that you should probably use some taller glass and fill that tank all the way to the top to make sure the water is all the way to the top of the tube. Gives it a better look. As you've seen from the front of the first of this video, you'll have noticed that there was a chunk of water missing from the top. Ultimately, this was just something fun for me to do. So, glass is ready to be put in, and I just put it in and built it like a regular aquarium. I had to use a lot of silicone around the tube of the actual TV glass, the original front glass, based on the fact that it was beveled on the inside, so there was a slight curve. Not a lot, but I did have to add about a 1/4 inch of silicone all the way around to not only act as to secure the tank in place, but to act as a gasket as well and fill in those gaps. Turned out okay. Never had any leaks, not even on the first fill, which was great. I always use more silicone than less and remove the excess if I have to. It's easier to do that than to not use enough and have to reseal it all over again. So that was really just about it. Now I can take that back panel that I removed at the first of the video from the actual TV and I placed it back on. It gave it a more finished look. There are several holes in it, so it does allow for ventilation. From there, I just placed a regular fluorescent light above it to light the tank. So that's it, folks. That was my television aquarium. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I definitely want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.